The basis for this claim, they wrote, is that there are cases of people who have previously been diagnosed with COVID and have gotten sick again with COVID. The truth is they did not have COVID the first time. When the previous diagnoses were made, 40 cycle PCR tests were used to make the diagnosis. However, data shows that any PCR test that uses more than 35 cycles only grows a virus 3% of the time. This means that the previous diagnosis of COVID was wrong 97% of the time. These individuals did not have COVID-19 the first time. Therefore, they are not reinfections. They simply had another virus. In August of this year, the infamous U.S. Food and Drug Administration, the FDA, openly states that the PCR test, previously touted as the gold standard for identifying the presence of COVID-19, was not developed with actual samples of the virus. Instead, genetic material from a common cold virus was used. Neither COVID-19 nor any of its variant forms has been isolated. The FDA used regular cold and flu viruses to produce PCR tests, meaning that everyone testing positive for COVID-19 is actually testing positive for the cold or the flu. This explains why the flu nearly disappeared in 2020, as everyone who got infected was assigned a COVID diagnosis. The bottom line is there are no legitimate tests that accurately identify the presence of COVID-19. And then, of course, you can read the material or the documents from both the CDC and the FDA yourself, because for the sake of time, I'm going to move quickly. Why are millions of people, vaccinated and unvaccinated, required to be tested over and over and over again? Well, beyond the manufactured case numbers that these tests produce to justify vaccines, the test itself is deadly. The cotton tip swabs are all sterilized with ethylene oxide, a cancer-causing substance. You can read about ethylene oxide at cancer.gov. According to the same U.S. government, beloved, that is forcing the vaccine on everyone, including children who have virtually zero chance of ever getting COVID, ethylene oxide is a colorless gas used to produce other chemicals such as antifreeze. It is also used as a pesticide and sterilizing agent. It has a strong ability to damage DNA that makes it a great sterilizer and a great source for cancer. The best primary route to get that substance into your body is through inhalation. In other words,
Elizabeth, you got one.
the site specifically states, quote, the general population may also be exposed through tobacco smoke and the use of products that have been sterilized with ethylene oxide. So the cotton swab that is used for these fraudulent tests for COVID leaves a calling card, cancer. And the tests and the vaccines, they intentionally or unintentionally. Go to that person and be ready to seek to atone to that person for.
Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. Sir. It is in those three holy and righteous names I'd like to greet you all once again, dear family, with the greeting words of peace. Assalamu alaikum. For anyone who may not know what that means, that simply means peace be unto you. And we wish you peace. And let me start by saying thank you for coming out today, because we know there were many other distractions that could have pulled you in that direction. But you were strong enough, you were bold enough, you were courageous enough that you wanted to elevate not only your consciousness, but your very mind, the self, the inner self. You wanted to do something about that, because there's something that is troubling each one of us today. And you know that sometimes when you come to the clinic, or when you go to a clinic, you're looking for an answer to what ails you. Well, spiritually, there's only one place that you can go to today to get that spiritual healing. Marvin Gaye had a song back in the day, it was called Sexual Healing. But if you want spiritual healing, you come to Muhammad's Mosque. And that's where we are today. So thank you for being out. Thank you for having But you gave that up because you wanted to get something else in your hearts and in your mind to help you from the week that has beat all of us up. So welcome, dear family. Thank you all for submitting to the check procedure. It's very necessary, because the check procedure, there are certain things that aren't allowed in the house. And we just want to level the playing field. We don't pretend to be bad and all that stuff. We're not here to beat you up or rough you up. Sometimes we have people come to the door, they have some strange looks in their eyes. Yeah, they look a little strange. We got some brothers and sisters over here that look strange too. They know how to deal with that, right? I think I would like to say in that category, I'd like to put myself in that group of one of those brothers who know how to deal with that by the grace of Allah. But family, we're here for love. We love you, and that's why we're here, because we're taking on the responsibility, and our assignment is to help our people as well as helping ourselves. So welcome to Muhammad's Mosque number 12. We're open again, and isn't it good to just be out of the house? Don't that feel good? I mean, we're not even full force yet, but it just feels so good to be able to come out and see your brothers and your sisters. You know? And that they're still healthy, they're still alive, that they're not under any kind of restraints. That's the beauty of just coming out. And there's an energy in that. When we see each other, the first thing we do, no matter how we felt, we lift up. Brother so-and-so, sister so-and-so. Praise is due to Allah. And that's the spirit. First thing we extend to them is peace. As-salamu alaykum. If that brother or sister is in the right spirit, the first thing they give back to you in a better manner is wa alaikum salam. But nevertheless, we want peace for each other, and that's what we extend out to each other. A lot of things going on in the world today. They're still talking about these vaccines. We don't take the vaccine. As the Honorable Louis Farrakhan told us in the garden. Don't they just beat you over your head with that vaccine stuff? This mandate, now you want a booster, you want this. We saw something very interesting in study group on this past Friday, the National Study Group, where Brother Illa Rashad, he's one of the brothers on the research team of the Honorable Louis Farrakhan. And he showed a clip. It's on YouTube. I don't have it with me now, but by the end of the meeting, we're going to present it. He showed where Dr. Fauci, he's up talking, and he's talking about, yes, it's very reliable, it's effective. And at the time, they were showing numbers like 100%. Brother Illa Rashad, in his research, there were articles that he was finding where it went from 100% to 98% to 90% to 60% to 50%. You follow the number. Then it went down, they got to the point where the percentage was so low, they started talking about, well, we're going to give you a booster. Huh? Are you listening to me? We're going to give you a booster. You cannot believe these people because they are liars. They were made to lie to you and me. If you've ever read the Genesis where God was talking to Abraham, they hate us because of our inheritance. We have an inheritance as black people. We didn't go through this for what we've been going through for any. This is not happenstance. God told Abraham, he said, Abraham, your seed is going to be in a land that is not theirs. And they're going to suffer and be afflicted by a people for 400 years. After that time, God talking, he said, I'm going to come. I'm going to judge that nation whom they shall serve. And afterwards, Abraham, your seed is going to come out with great substance and go to their fathers in a ripe old age. Well, what is substance? We know what substance is. That's a plus. That's on the plus side of the balance sheet. We're going to come out with great substance. I mean, money, homes, good, and friendships in all walks of life. That's what we're promised, and God don't lie. Let me just say this. We don't listen to them. The Quran says it a little better. Well, it says it a lot better, if I may read it to you. In Surah 14, Ayat 22. Now, they're telling everybody, take the booster or take the vaccine and you'll be fine. You'll be fine. Now they're finding out that the people who are getting the vaccines are actually giving COVID to those who come in contact with them. But now they're trying to blame it on the unvaccinated. Oh, the people who are unvaccinated are really the cause of this. That wasn't the case before it came out. Everybody was unvaccinated. Oh, now all of a sudden the people who got the vaccine, they're not the problem, but the ones who are not vaccinated, they're the problem, you and me. Listen to this. The Quran says it this way. And the devil will say, this is Surah 14, Ayat 22. And the devil will say, when the matter is decided, surely Allah promised you a promise of truth. And I promise you then fails you. And I had no authority over you except that I called you and you obeyed me. So blame me not. Blame yourselves. I cannot come to your help, nor can you come to my help. I deny you're associating me with Allah before. Surely for the unjust is a painful chastisement. Woo! The Quran is just blunt, ain't it? It comes straight from, it come, bam, boom, you got it. This is the way it is. And brothers and sisters, this is just strong doctrine. We have to take this and hold on to it. We don't listen. They're going to threaten us with everything. Oh, you can't come to work no more. You can't fly anymore. You can't do this. You can't do this. Shut up. We don't care, because the man that is connected to God, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, told us don't take it, and we're not going to take it. Did you know in the final call, the praise be to Allah, the final call, our current edition, under the COVID section, by the national spokesperson of the Honorable Louis Farrakhan, Student Minister Ava Muhammad, in it, they said that if you don't take the vaccine now, if you're going to stay on these jobs, they want to swab your nose, right? Did you know? Now, I knew something was up. I just didn't know what it was. They're putting something on the swab called ethanol oxide. That's the same stuff they put in antifreeze. So if they can't inject it into you by way of putting it into your nose, and they said, look, first they started out saying, we want to do it like, twice a week. Now they're saying, no, do it every day. And what they're finding out, that this can cause damage later on because it absorbs into the bloodstream. It can actually damage your DNA just from the swab. Don't be fooled, brothers and sisters. What did the reading just say? I promise you, then fails you. He's going to fail. Everybody, including himself. But he knows his time is up. The enemy is like, I took this behavioral health class once, and in it, the professor told us there's a person in this world called a lethal abuser. A lethal abuser is both homicidal, meaning they will kill, and they're suicidal, meaning they'll kill themselves. You've heard the white man make the testament, or the slave master's children say, I can blow the planet up over 100 times over. Why would you want to do that and you know you're going to kill yourself? Some of us, maybe not all of us, have been in a relationship with somebody and that person was like this. If I can't have you, can't nobody have you. Remember the prophecy? They don't want us to get the prophecy that Allah promised us. So if they can't have us, they're going to kill us and kill them too. Right. But then the Quran says, and they plan, and Allah plans, and Allah is the best of planners. Brothers and sisters, at this time, thank you for the time you've allowed me to be here. Let's bring to this rostrum our brother, a hard-working soldier, the Delaware Valley Student Regional Minister, Rodney Muhammad. Assalamu alaikum. All right,
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you. Assalamu alaikum. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, the One God, to whom praise is due, the Lord of the worlds, we thank Almighty God, who is the revealer of all truth and the sender of all prophets, of whom we make no distinction. We thank him for Moses and the Torah. We thank him for Jesus and the gospel. And we thank him for Muhammad and the revelation of the Holy Quran. As a student of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad's life-giving message, though, I'm most thankful to Allah for his own intervention in our affairs in these last days in the divine person of Master Fard Muhammad, to whom praise is due forever. We cannot thank him enough that he came for us. When everybody didn't want us, he came by himself. You know you have a friend when you're down and they don't disappear on you.
Come on, that's right.
He came at a time that everything had failed us.
Yes, that's right.
And after finding us, he found one worthy to plant himself in.
Come on, that's right. Go ahead.
And he raised him with unequaled wisdom.
Right.
We can say that because nobody else been able to duplicate it.
That's right. That's right. Come on.
And strong law, even as Jesus said these words, as Moses lifted the serpent of the wilderness, so shall the Son of Man be lifted. The serpent of the wilderness a hidden history of the beginning of the Caucasian in West Asia. And after he was put in West Asia, we named it Europe.
Come on. That's right.
He was lifted with strong law. That's the way the Son of Man would be lifted.
Come on. That's right.
And so we thank Allah, for he is, as we said last Sunday, the evolver. And being the evolver, he don't leave you like he finds you. And so he raised his servant, even as we prayed, "O Allah, raise him to the high and the exalted place, as thou hast promised him. Verily, thou never breakest thy promise." And so the most honorable Elijah Muhammad is in that exalted state, a Christ figure, not only of the Christian world, but a Christ figure of the Muslim world is called Mahdi. We thank Allah for his faithfulness to God and God's own scholarship. And we thank Allah for these two men, because the man that stands with us today, we can't see him properly unless we can see these two men. And so we thank Allah for their student, servant, and apostle, that messianic voice today, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. All praises due to Allah. I'm thankful to Allah for him, and I'm thankful to Allah for, I think I hit the wrong button there. Try to go back. I'm trying to get something for you here. And, well, I got it all messed up now. Yeah. Yeah. Praise be to Allah. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan reminds us that teaching alone won't change people. It's going to take methods, and it's going to take a program. In August of 1962, in answer to the most oft-asked questions, the most honorable Elijah Muhammad put on the back page of the Muhammad Speaks a program called the Muslim Program. And so for years, we were made to see this program as something for the Muslims. But in 2015 in Washington, D.C., to an audience of 1 million and millions more watching, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan put these points before millions to ask them how they felt about the Muslim program. And they answered in the affirmative that this was the program that they accept. Do you want freedom? Because that's what's in the Muslim program. Do you want justice? Because that's in the program. Do you want equality of opportunity? You don't have to be equal to somebody, but do I have an equal chance? That if I make a choice, that the chance and the opportunity is there. These are life principles that without them, we don't really have life. You say, well, I disagree with that, Muhammad, because I got life. Somebody trained you to take death and call it life. But it's not life. If you don't have freedom, it's not life. if you don't have justice, because without justice, there is no joy in your freedom. You leave me ignorant and tell me I'm free, then I'm free to show the world how ignorant I am. There's no joy in that. Oh, you free all right, but you're free to make a fool of yourself. So, as we reopen to our public, we want to talk about methods and programs because black folks are tired of cataloging their problems. About time for some solutions. Mr. Muhammad knew that you would get to this place. I had this thing worked out, and I've messed it up now. I really wanted you to be able to see these slides. I don't know how to get out of this. I tried that, and for some reason, I don't know why it's doing that. But anyway, I want to read the program to you on the back page of the paper. The Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad certainly wanted us to have the most critical education that any human being could have, and that is the knowledge of ourselves. As a messenger of God, which he claimed, whether it was to the United States government, whether it was to, I don't think that's going to work today. So we just have to get the technology better. But anyway, the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad made his claim that he was God's messenger. In that claim, he certainly proved to fulfill what was written in the scriptures, because he had only been to the 4th grade in the schooling system of the United States of America, and he defied the education that was given to our people, and many who had gone to higher institutions of learning and learned high level of degrees and awards for their educational experience sat at his table and was still learning. So the question is asked in the scripture, how is this man without letters? He doesn't have a BS degree. He doesn't have a master's degree. There's no PhD or doctorate behind his name. There are no letters behind his name. How is this man without letters yet learned? We didn't teach him, so where did he learn from? And people that learned from him were empowered with their learning, and they were able to defy scholarship of the present world that we in. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad took Malcolm Little. And once Elijah got through with Malcolm Little, Malcolm wasn't little no more. And I mean that literally, he didn't wear the name Little, but literally he became a mental giant among men because he sat with the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. The back page of the newspaper, just as Malcolm X learned, the back page of the newspaper is the Constitution of the Nation of Islam. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan teaches us that the way the nation is coming in is the same way that we are born. We are born starting out as a germ. And the germ don't have eyes, but it can see where it's going. The germ don't have ears, but it can hear his own purpose. The germ don't have legs, but it can move. There's no brain there, but now we know intelligence was already present. It finds its way to the egg and begins the first cell of life, and it starts growing in a system that's already in existence. It builds up out of that system, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan teaches us, and it protects itself with a covering called placenta that draws from the system that's already in existence, but filters what it draws on. Thank you. Filters what it draws on, and though it's in a system, it's preparing itself to act independently with its own system. So it is with the Nation of Islam, a nation within a nation. We're not starting out on dry ground. We're coming up in a system that's already in existence. Listen to what I'm saying. But ultimately, we will grow into something. When you look at life forms and the way it grows, from the cell, you become a clot. A clot is a disgusting looking piece of flesh that seems to have no purpose or direction. But yet inside of the clot is a plan. And if the clot stays in the right environment, an embryo comes out. The embryo is mostly the head. And from the head, a brain starts forming, and it starts calling the other parts of the body into existence. The Nation of Islam started out like that germ. A word that has intelligence in it. A word that, if believed and followed, you find out it has direction, because it takes you from the direction you was in and puts you in the direction of the word. Only way you go back to something else is you leave the word. Well, I love God. What I found from the church and the mosque, if you don't love God's word, you don't love God. Well, I follow God. If you don't follow his word. Well, I trust God. You don't trust God no more than you trust his word. I saw black folks that tell me, I don't trust white folks, Muhammad. You over there talking with them and you working with them, you a sellout. The only time black people trust black people is when we dead. No. Show me a black person that when their family member die, they go to white folks to bury them. You're looking for somebody black once your body is dead. Isn't that something? You don't trust them with your dead body, but with your live body, with your mind and spirit, you all in. See, so the way we've been educated and conditioned, where when we deal with white folks, the only relationship we know is that they're directing us in where we're going to go. So let me read to you what Mr. Muhammad said, because we're going into education now. He said, we want equal education, but separate schools, up to 16 for boys, 18 for girls, on the condition that the girls be sent to women colleges and universities. Well, why can't it be co-ed? Do you know that right now in the higher institutions of learning, 26.4% of the women in college are raped. This is a figure that has been going up every decade. So when you send your daughters off to colleges that are co-ed, they said that a young woman on a college campus is just as likely to get raped as she is to get robbed. A woman not in college, for every 5 robberies, just think of what I'm saying now, there's 1 rape. But on a college campus, for every 1 robbery, there's 1 rape. So the likelihood multiplies itself when a young woman is on a college campus. Already, going back to the 30s, Mr. Muhammad with foresight.
Yes, sir.
That's the kind of education you need, because you in a world where they tell you we got experts, but there's no expertise.
Come on.
How do we know that? Because they're economic experts, but there's no expertise. That's why we're suffering economically. So Mr. Muhammad is looking at the education. Education means that you transmit knowledge, and by transmitting knowledge, generation to generation, you preserve knowledge. The process by how that's done is education. I had slides prepared that would show you what Mr. Muhammad is warning about, and these warnings, remind you, they went back years from when we are in. And if you go back 1,400 years, because you always hear a lot of people talking about the devil. I ain't agreeing with the devil. I'm at war with the devil. But Muhammad said one learned man is harder on the devil than 1,000 ignorant worshipers. So if the learned man is harder on the devil, why aren't we learning? You don't need a gun to be hard on the devil. You don't need a knife, a chain, or a baseball bat to be hard on the devil. Mr. Muhammad took all them things off of you. Why? Because he said, the education I will give you, if you stick with me, you will learn from the scholarship of God.
Yes, sir.
And by learning as a man and a woman, you'll be harder on the devil.
That's right. That's right.
You can't beat him with a gun,
No, sir.
but even dying with the gun is not worse for him. Mr. Muhammad says in his book, Our Savior Has Arrived, the worst thing that could happen to them is that they be exposed.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You can't expose them without knowledge.
Right. Teach.
Well, I'm going to go tell on him. You don't even know yourself.
Go ahead.
Mr. Muhammad said, the education you must have, you need a knowledge of self, then others.
That's right.
You want to learn about somebody else, but you're not learning about yourself. When you learn about somebody else, you can learn what they're like, but by not studying yourself, you don't even know what you deserve. That's why you can ride through our neighborhoods and see that the world of commerce, as expressed in the black community, is that all the businesses are somebody else's.
That's right.
Don't call them the enemy. We have to look at ourselves now
Come on.
to see why we're ending up. Well, I don't want to hear that black talk. That's because you think black is just color. But black is not just color. Black is consciousness. And consciousness comes out of an awareness of an increase in knowledge. You want somebody to be powerful. Feed them knowledge. You want somebody to be powerful in a way, because self-knowledge leads to self-mastery. You can't master what you don't know. So you empower people when you feed them knowledge. You don't empower us with guns. The gun is loaded. With no knowledge, your mind is unloaded. The gun will fire off, but your mind can't fire off. Average speed of thought is 24 billion miles per second. And you sitting up here with no mental bullets. Well, I'm going to carry a Glock. That'll scare these Negroes. You want to scare them? Get a book. You want to frighten the hell out of some young man? Give him a book. Tell him to read it and give you a report on what he read. And I'm serious. To live in accord with our nature is a culture, but black is not just color, not just consciousness, not just a culture, it's a cosmic connection between the beginning of this universe. See, the real book is the universe. The real book you don't have to be born to go get. You're born out of the book. And the education that Mr. Muhammad gives us, he takes us beyond this 6,000 year period.
Yes, sir. Come on.
To people whose nature was to read the creation, because it is the book that we're born out of. There is no book that takes you beyond the scope of what Allah has created. The Quran teaches us he comprehends all things in his knowledge. Comprehend, that don't mean understanding. You can say, I understand my instructions, but that don't mean you comprehend them.
Go ahead.
Well, Muhammad, if I understand my instructions, yeah, you understand them, but to comprehend them means you know the purpose for.
Go ahead.
If you don't even know why the instructions exist, you don't even comprehend it yet. Allah comprehends. He don't just know.
Go ahead.
He don't just understand, but he comprehends. He knows why it's there in the first place. Purpose. Well, you know, I know myself. I understand myself, but do you comprehend? Have you really figured out why you're here? If you know you didn't create yourself, the one that created you, what did he have in mind? What were we supposed to do? So the knowledge of self, next to the knowledge of God, is the most important knowledge Mr. Muhammad teaches us that we can engage. Education should give us the ability and the power to define ourselves.
Yes, sir.
Right today, the term we're using, because we done graduated from Negro, we went black, now we're African American. Do you know that a man from Pakistan moved to Africa and lived there a few years, and after living in Africa, he moved to America and became an American citizen? At the University of Maryland, they got special grants set up to help African Americans get into University of Maryland. He was born in Pakistan. He went and applied. And he was denied because they said he wasn't African American. He went and got a lawyer. This is a real case. And after the lawyer showed the judge and the court, this man was a citizen in Africa after living there so many years. He came here. Here's proof of his American citizenship. That makes him an African American. He got $150,000. No, that's a real lawsuit. He never was a slave. His mama was never raped. His babies was never sold off. Are you listening to me? He never picked cotton. He didn't lay the roads out for him. He didn't get hung for 100 years. They didn't steal his money at the Freedmen's Bank. He did not go through what you have been through and what you're going through. But yet, he was an African American according to the courts of the United States of America. What the hell is going on? We don't even know who the hell we are. And then you want to defy somebody that says you need to learn the knowledge of yourself. You don't know who you are. And we're calling ourselves by so many different names. No wonder God has to name us. Mr. Muhammad goes on to say we want these separate schools. The Quran teaches us, and so the male is not like the female. They don't always process information the same. Their outlook on things are not always the same. So you can feed them information and call it education. But he do say at the Latin root for education, it means to extract. Draw out, draw up, bring out. Not put something in saying that God left you and me empty. See, that goes back to comprehend. If he created us, did he create us to fail like we're failing? And they're tracing it back to education. Right now, 10% of the principals of all schools, public schools, are black. 80% of them are white. 82% of all the teachers in the schools throughout America, 82% are white. So now you have people who don't live among you, don't live with you, don't really know you. They just have a curriculum and information that they're supposed to feed you. And you're supposed to come out better. One thing we know, when they're taught and they teach their children come out, their problems, but they don't hate each other. If you take an ant and educate it from another ant, he's so in love with the other ants, he'll fight to the death, defending the ant colony. Am I right about it? You educate a bee, every time the bee uses that stinger, he gives his life up. There's no such thing as the bee can sting you and come back to sting another day. Once they sting you, they die. Hell, that's love. But we're killing each other. So what are we learning in the classroom? And the average classroom in black neighborhoods throughout America have armed police rather than counselors. You don't have no one talking to you by the time you hit high school trying to prepare your mind for college. You don't have a mentor there. And then our homes are wrecked because policies are set up that if a man is there and he does not have work, we'll give you money, but he got to be gone. That sets up a female-headed household. And a lot of times he can't work because he's unemployable. There may be a record that he's picked up somewhere. I'm just trying to give you a picture of the conditions that are set up that Mr. Muhammad was not unaware of. So we need these schools separate. Look what he goes on to say. We want all black children educated, taught, and trained by their own teachers. I forget which anniversary of the Million Man March it was, but we were in Alabama at Tuskegee Institute, set up by Mr. Booker T. Washington. And Mr. Booker T. Washington, to his credit, was trying to civilize us.
Right. Yes, sir.
Did you know that he was teaching women how to dress, covering themselves? Because what we don't realize, during Reconstruction, so they could convince other white people that black people weren't worthy for government. Y'all don't mind hearing this, do you? See, 1870, when they gave us the right to vote, 5 years after the end of the Civil War, remember, women couldn't vote then. Not just black women, white women couldn't vote. And from 1870 to 1876, with just black men voting, we put 664 people into office. They didn't want white citizens thinking that black men were intelligent, so they began to use their newspapers to make cartoons of black men sitting up with their shoes off, with their feet kicked up, eating fried chicken and drinking whiskey while they were down there in government supposed to be deliberating. They made black women look like whores. They undressed them in these drawings and things. So when you go back and see the HBCUs, starting with Mr. Booker T. Washington and others, you see a lot of black women taking pictures, covered and with books, and they're learning. They were recasting themselves because of the way we had been made to look in the public. Damn it, and now we're undressing all over again. After trying to repair our image, talking about we keeping it real. Mr. Washington taught women how to set the table. That Tuskegee Institute is the only HBCU that the students built with their own hands. Men chopped the trees down, they sawed the wood, they took the clay and baked the bricks, and they built their school. And Mr. Washington didn't have white teachers over black students. Everybody was black because he was trying to civilize us. And so they had to use, black intellectuals to try to tear Mr. Washington down. They had some points in their arguments, but I'm just trying to give you a picture. Folks been coming after us, and now that they've stole from us, robbed us, burnt our homes down, our towns down, looted us and everything, now they call you the looter. Well, do you all call whites devils? Have you ever looked the definition of a devil up? I thought it was going to say, an evil person. You know what the definition of a devil is? An accuser and a slanderer. So we built nearly 100 towns. They burnt them all down, looted them. When they burnt down Tulsa, Oklahoma, they came in and looted us because black people were so wealthy there.
Yes, sir.
On Black Wall Street, Greenwood, Archer, and Pine Streets. That's where the Gap Band comes from, right? That's why they made the song, You Dropped a Bomb on Me.
Teach on that. Go ahead, brother.
Huh?
Go ahead.
Oh, yeah. And they took the mink coats that the sisters had, the jewelry. So when black people tried to come back, they saw the white women in their coats. They literally saw the white women wearing their jewelry and everything. They took all of this. But today you're called the looter. You're called the one tearing up your own community. And somebody tried to bring me that crap. No, I'm educated. From the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. Well, Muhammad, burning down this and all of that. I said, in their minds, they're tearing down monuments of modern day slavery.
Teach on that. Come on, man.
When they burn down CVS, if they go after it and they target Target,
Yes, sir.
and they go after it, all of these are monuments
Real talk.
of our powerlessness and the power that other people have over us. We need something in our mind. I know it's misdirected. We don't encourage anybody to go and tear up anything, but even being misguided. You could see after George Floyd was killed, the places we were attacking just here in Philadelphia. You know, you put drugs on us and charge all kind of money, so they went into every place that had the pills, that you like charging us more than that for insulin for diabetes costs no more than $55 in every country on this earth. For here is $700 to $800. So we're finished with our little talk today because there are other things, that we could talk about when it comes to our education. But the one thing we have to stop doing is saying, Muhammad, the educational system is broken. I said, how? Because our children, are coming out. I said, you act like they designed the educational system for the benefit of our children. The educational system in this country was set up for Americans of European descent primarily.
Right. Right.
No, that's the truth. So I don't even fault them for that. They're the ones here. They're the ones setting up the system. Why shouldn't they set it up for them? I said, the system ain't broken. We're broken. Trying to make that look right for us. But Mr. Muhammad is saying, no, we need our people educated by their own teachers. That's all he's saying. Look at here. Under such schooling system, we believe we will make a better nation of people. Mr. Muhammad said, you just let us have an opportunity with our own teachers teaching our own. We'll put a clean glass next to the dirty glass. That's the end of the argument. We don't even have to go back and forth about this. Even with, as I said last week, with critical race theory, we act like critical race theory has no value till white America accepts it. The controversy is trying to get them to accept critical race theory when the people that really need to get the theory is us. They'll get it when we get it. How do I know that? Because when you start educating your own, they start paying attention to what you're doing. Mr. Muhammad started this in the 30s. He gets a phone call that all of our teachers are in jail. What did our teachers do? They were only teaching us the kind of education that every human being should learn. You should learn who you are. Because self-knowledge leads you to be empowered to command yourself. And so lastly, he says, the United States government should provide free all necessary textbooks and equipment, schools and college buildings. The Muslim teachers shall be left free to teach and train their people in the way of righteousness, decency, self-respect. Huh? What's wrong with that program? After what we've been through, you can't worry about hurting somebody's feelings. Your feelings have been hurt. You have babies that couldn't take care of themselves, and if you had not taken care of them, they wouldn't even be here. Only for them to grow up a certain age and now they got a gun. And you ain't even safe where you raised your own children. And you say, well, who's coming in the neighborhood wreaking havoc? Nobody have to come. We doing it to ourselves. It's got something to do with the educational system. And if you got more of us getting arrested, taken away from the school, that's what the stats are showing now. I would have showed you on the slide. But the stats are showing that more of us are being arrested, taken from the school. Then it's no wonder we got a pipeline from the classroom to the jailhouse. Notwithstanding that God and prayer and Bible teaching is taken out of the school, and you can get a Bible just like that as soon as you hit prison. Oh, I know. I've been to just about every prison in this state. Everybody, white and black, got Bibles. You can listen to stuff on the Bible there, but you better not do it in school. It's against the law. But it ain't against the law once they say you broke the law, and then we're going to put you in jail for breaking the law. Now you can have a Bible. And we can talk about God and Jesus. Come on, man. These people are hypocritical. Hell, and you know it. And we got to have sense enough, you know, to see that this is our own demise. The Holy Quran says this as we close. Nay, they reject that whose knowledge they cannot compass and whose final sequel has not yet come to them. See, if they don't get it, when you're talking about it, they want to invalidate it.
Go ahead.
If they can't invalidate it by bringing something superior to it, then they just call you a name.
Go ahead. Teach.
Well, Muhammad called him the skunk of the planet Earth. That's kind of ugly to refer to somebody and say, no, he was being descriptive. He wasn't trying to put white people down. The skunk is the only creature whose presence is not required for you to know he's been there. And once the skunk sprays his stuff on you, nobody want to be around you. So that's his work. He floods you with names. Anti-Semitic, homophobic, you know, racist, anti-this, anti-that. By the time they get through spraying all that urine on you, everybody says, well, stay away from them. Why are you getting away? Because it might get on me.
Yes, sir.
That's the skunk's defense. It can't defend itself no other way. Go study the creature.
Yes, sir.
He don't look at it. It's some ugly creatures
Yes, sir.
on this planet.
Yes, sir.
But the skunk is not one of them. He's in a tuxedo, black and white. When I was growing up, the cartoons had Pepe Le Pew. He was a skunk. Anybody, somebody with me? Y'all don't know nothing about this. Y'all got all these new cartoons. But let me tell you something as I close. Pepe Le Pew was always rapping. He'd scoot up to you and everything, but he was stinking. And the way the cartoon would be able to show the odor is coming from him, but he had that suave language and everything, but he was a skunk. They're doing that because they know that that creature is not really an ugly creature compared to the creatures that are on the planet. But he's unique in that he can use something, and if he gets you in the right place with the stench, it could kill you. So Mr. Muhammad said the skunk of the planet Earth, because he will use a mass media system to color anybody and cover them with a stench that he wants so everybody will get away from him. And he literally, with his stench, will put you in a public prison of opinion. And if anybody is going to be around you, they want to make sure nobody sees. So Nicodemus, he saw them rejecting the knowledge Jesus was bringing. And he came by night. That's scholars. That's a sign of scholarship. We've been studying you preaching and everything, and we can see that there's no way you could say what you say and do what you do if you weren't from God. Come on now. So now they're talking about how can a man be saved? Say, well, he had to be born again. Can a man go back in his mother's womb and be born all over again? He said, you're supposed to be a scholar. You should already know. See, you're talking of things from the flesh as opposed to the spirit. But look what he says. Jesus tells him, as I close, he says, thou seest from whither the wind comes, and thou see where the wind goes. But you know, can't nobody tell you exactly where the wind started. And nobody can tell you exactly where the wind ends. You just know that the wind came and the wind went. He said, so it is with the people of the Spirit. Why? Because the original people have no beginning and they have no ending. So teaches the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And everybody that's black and conscious and comes into the culture of God, believe me, as the Honorable Louis Farrakhan said, the truth got rhythm. That's why Jesus said, I've piped to you all the day long, but you still not dancing. I know that I'm giving you the truth, and the truth got rhythm, but your spirit, you're not picking it up. Black America is not dancing to the right tune. And right now we're in a horror story. But now we're back open to the public in the name of the Messiah today, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. And we're going to work to our last breath. If you want to be in a grave, we're going to shake that grave and get us up and get you on your post to get black people up in their rightful place on earth. Thank you for listening as I greet you in peace. Assalamu alaikum. Let's receive Brother Joseph Muhammad. Thank you. All praise to Allah.
Let's keep that round of applause going for our Delaware Valley Student Regional Minister, Student Minister Rodney Muhammad. Powerful, powerful lecture, brothers and sisters. All praise is due to Allah. While our brother was teaching and dropping those jewels on us, another voice was speaking to us. We were bearing witness in our own minds, even if we didn't clap or shout out. Something was going on internally here and here. And I just want to present these three questions to you. How many of us today believe that what we heard is true and that it's good for our people? All praise is due to Allah. Well, dear family, if it's good